Have you ever been on a server or downloaded a map from the marketplace and thought, man, I wish I could have something like that in my world? Well, me too. I'm Mr. B-Rates1 and this is my brand new series, MC Map Faker. Come join me on this adventure as we try to make our very own map in Minecraft. And with the help of my silent assistant here, we are going to try and implement things for player counts, NPC support, managing lobbies, and much more. Please like and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell to be kept up to date on the series. So, you're probably wondering why I called this MC Map Faker. Well, first of all, I am no map maker. I'm just your average Bob playing Minecraft. But I like the idea of making my own map, so I've done a lot of research and I've got an idea in mind of what I want to do. So, without further ado, let's get into today's episode. To start off the series then, let's talk about how we're going to set the world up. Now, what I tend to do when creating a new world for stuff like this is I like to configure it in a certain way. Now, since we'll be using the world to the entire series, I think it's important that we get it all configured correctly now. For the most part, most of the settings will be however you need it to be, depending on what it is you're trying to build. As long as certain things are implemented, then anything that I show you here, you should be able to replicate in your own worlds without any problems. So, I am actually going to use a void world here. This is just a template that I have. This is just going to make it easy for myself, just so I don't have to clear out terrain and things like that. But you yourself can use anything you want. Whatever world you've got, you can do this too. So we just start from here. So first of all, then let's give it a name. So I think we're going to call it MC Map Faker. Oh, hang on, quite far enough. There we go. MC Map Faker, the series. There we go. This is going to be our map. So initially, we'll leave it in creative and peaceful mode. Let's scroll down here. I always turn the coordinates on myself because this will become very, very handy for us. Now, this is the important part. There are two settings here that we need to enable. So we need to enable experimental gameplay. It does warn you here about using it. Ooh, I don't know why that's gone off. And Education Edition, we need to enable that as well. Now, we don't need those for today's episode, but there are some things in future episodes that will utilize these features, so we may as well just turn them on now to start with, rather than have to mess around before. Now, this particular void world already has mob spawning turned off, but I recommend if it isn't, just turning that off, because that will stop things like cows and sheep and stuff like that from spawning. For everything else, I'll just leave it how it is, predetermined. So this just sort of last bit here that I'm doing is just to speed up the process for me. So I'm just simply adding my structure imports back and my functions pack. And that's just so it makes it easier for me to import things in and just sort of speed up the process. We'll turn this on to invite only. And we are now ready to go. So let's create it. And here we are in the void world. Now, before we do anything else, let's just go into settings real quick. We just want to make sure that these are changed here. So we want to switch this over to adventure mode, and we want to switch this to creative mode. The reason for being this is any person that joins your world will join as in adventure mode, and therefore they won't be able to destroy anything, place anything, interact with anything, and it just basically ensures that you're giving the permission, a set permission to all the players immediately. It just saves you having to have command blocks and other things running in the background when you don't need it, and then just make sure your personal mode is creative so you can still do all your building and stuff like that. So one of the first things now that we need to do is set up a spawn point. So as you can see here, this void world just sort of spawns this little platform in here just to give you something to work with. So I think let's set up a main spawn point. At the moment, this is where everyone spawns in. So I've got just the perfect structure in mind for that, actually. We're going to erect a structure here, and we'll set that as the spawn point. And then we can take it from there. So first of all, we are going to need to give ourselves something. So let's just open up the chat. We are going to need to give ourselves a command block. There we go. And we are going to need to give ourselves a structure block. And here we are. This is my structure that I've spawned in. If you want to know how to move structures between worlds, just wait for the card at the end of the video, and there'll be a link there to a video that shows you how you can do that yourself. You can see it is a UFO. Now this actually had another life elsewhere, You can see inside now there's nothing in there, but this originally was a villager breeder, and I took it and I took out the villager breeder stuff at the top here and just sort of made it inside like this. And you can see we've got some villagers there, making it look like they're being beamed down as well. I just felt that this be like the perfect spawn point, so I think this is what we're going to do. We're going to use this. Whoa. Ooh, look at that. Whoa. We're going to use this as the spawn point. So in order to set the world spawn then, let's just stand in here like so. Well, that's weird. And we'll just open up the chat and we'll do / set world spawn, and then we're just going to do these little squigglies here, and this will basically just tell the game that all players will spawn at this exact location. And as you can see there, it is now set the world spawn. Okay, so now that we got our spawn point set up, I think we want to add like a welcome message so that when people come, they know exactly where they've come to. There's no mistake where they are. So I've got some things just sort of set up here as a demonstration. But what we're essentially going to do is we're going to implement a welcoming message, and so that whenever anyone ever joins your world and they spawn in here, they will get greeted with a message. Now, in its basic form, this is the command: / title @ title welcome. And then we have a second one here: / title @ subtitle to MC map FAKER. Now, what happens when you press this button? That's what happens when you press this button. Comes up with a nice welcome message. You can have a main title and sort of like a smaller bit of text underneath it. Now you can actually make that more colourful because obviously that's white. It's not very clear, as you can see in here. It's a weird little squiggly character. I think on the phone, if you press and hold, I think it's S, it comes up with other options, and that's one of them. You just copy that in, put a number, and it comes up with a colour. So obviously we've done that. We haven't done that on this one, but we did that on the first one, so we play it again, and there you go. You can now see, obviously, it's a different colour, and you can colour both up and down. So that's it in its basic form. Now, the problem is that you can't just have that in a repeating command block. And this is the reason why. Let me just put that on repeat. That's what happens. As you can see, it all goes flickery and weird. I don't know if you can see that. That turns out well on the recording, but that's what happens, and obviously that's not what you want. That's not what you want at all. So let's just stop that for a minute. I have just realised a spelling mistake there. Oh, this is the problem. Obviously we don't want that. That's not going to work for us at all. We do need to change the commands around a little bit. So just by using the original, as you can the title welcome here that we have put a bunch of stuff at the beginning of it, and basically all this says is that execute for all the people wherever they are located, and then it says run the title command. But the title command then says that only if the player is in this location, display this welcome message. And we have again the same with the subtitle, because this is just a chain command. You don't need to do anything special in this one. And again, it's the same thing, we're just using a different colour. Now, if I just flick this on, you will notice that nothing's coming up on the screen. As you can see, it's failed to execute the title. That's the welcome message, because I am not in the location I need to be. So, if we go back down to our location, and there you go. See, it will stay on the screen for a brief moment in time. Now, and that's how you do a welcome message. Now, there is one other problem with this though, is that you can walk back to it, and it'll keep repeating the same message over and over again. Now, there is a more advanced way of handling the title system. You can create what's called a scoreboard, and you can get into really advanced stuff with that. But that takes some knowledge in that, and the whole point of these episodes is to be able to implement them in an easy way, as opposed to a difficult way. So we are going to need to make a couple of changes. So first of all, we need to look into this command here, and we're going to change this Y level. Now this Y level, we're actually going to put it 3 blocks higher. So if that's 67, it's 68 6970, which is 3 blocks higher than the current spawn point. So if we now go back down to here, you'll notice there's no longer any text displaying. Obviously you're probably thinking, well, how is that going to get triggered? Well, just by changing the world spawn, by making a small point, by making the world spawn point 3 blocks higher, so when the player first spawns in, they trigger the welcome message, they fall down, giving the effect of arriving via a UFO. They'll get the welcome message, but they won't get stuck there. And you would simply then just do the final change by coming back, set world spawn. So again, you would go your squigglies, but the difference being is you do +3 in the middle section, and then back to squigglies again. And there we go. World spawn is now set to 670 and 13. And just to show you that it does work with more than one player, if my silent assistant here would like to join the world, and we'll get to see it from their perspective as well, and you can see what it looks like for all players. And there we go, as we can see the title screen there coming up and displaying for him. Absolutely brilliant. So now we have our spawn point set up, and now we've got a welcome message, so any player now that enters will get greeted with a nice message, and it will all be brilliant. Excellent. Really happy we got this set up. Well, that's all we've got time for today. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye.